Hey guys, so let's talk about a big topic that has been going on since since the Rise of Skywalker was released, and the topic is which one was better, the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy. Now, the original Star Wars trilogy is one of the best trilogies ever in the history of movies. But in the question comes when we talk about the prequel trilogy and of course the recent sequel trilogy. Now, in my opinion, both are bad. Um None of them are good. Unfortunately, at least as good as the original movies. But if we compare both of these trilogies, the prequel one and the sequel ones, there are some jarring differences. Now, the difference in the case of prequel trilogy is, yeah, they were bad, but they have good redeeming qualities. Qualities such as, for me, the lightsaber duels in all those three movies were great, greatly orchestrated. They gave us Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, um, fighting Yoda, and everything. So, yeah, those are the cases. The pod racing in the first episode, in episode one, it was good as well. Now, the execution of those movies were bad, but if we put the screenplays of the prequel trilogy side by side, episode 1 to 3, we could see that there was a story that George Lucas was trying to tell. There was a story that was going on, and that culminated in the end of episode 3. And what the prequel trilogy was, the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker, which was to me perfectly bridged by the Clone Wars animated TV show. And that to me is the only saving grace, because from episode 2 to episode 3 there was such a gap that the transformations seemed a bit radical of Anakin to Darth Vader. But after the TV show was released, the Clone Wars animated TV show, this was, to me, bridged in some cases. In some case, that thing was bridged, so that was okay. By all means, the screenplay, the script of the three movies read good, but unfortunately, the execution was not that well. That's why the prequel trilogy fell. But in the case of the sequel trilogy, there was no plan at all. There was no story. Force Awaken was good. Yes, that was good. But after that, everything went downhill. The Last Jedi literally ignored what Force Awakens did, and the Rise of Skywalker then ignored what the Last Jedi did, which made a mess. And to me, the biggest problem was, you made three movies and you couldn't get Luke, Leia, and Han together on the screen at the same time in three movies in the sequel trilogy. That to me was, of all the worst things that happened, like Palpatine came back and whatnot, that was to me the worst thing. And of course, the second worst thing would be, yeah, somehow Palpatine came back, which showed they didn't have any plan. Even Daisy Ridley herself said in interviews that she didn't know like who she was going to be, like what was the plan with her, the titular character, the main character, Ray. Ray. I will just call her Ray, not Ray Skywalker, because she's not Skywalker. Come on. So yeah, the main character Ray, even she didn't have any. She didn't know what her story arc would be. They were throwing things like, even when the movie was in production, the shooting was going on, they were saying she could be Obi-Wan's daughter, or she could be Han's daughter, or someone. They were throwing out plans. They didn't have any plan from the beginning. At the start of the trilogy, at least George Lucas had a plan for the prequel trilogy. This one had no plans. They didn't know what they were doing. They were just swinging it, going from one movie to another, and that's not how you do a trilogy. If they were single movies, standalone movies, it would have been fine, but they weren't. They were Star Wars has always been about these trilogies, and they didn't plan for it, and that's where like it fell for me. That to me in these for and yeah, as I said before, the prequel trilogies had some redeeming qualities for it. The sequel has none. Only The Force Awakens is good, and the others, they're just, in my opinion, are just a mess. Now, I could talk about it the whole day. I'm just giving you the summary of this. That, yeah, to me, I felt there was no plan at all. They were just going one by one, and yeah, it wasn't accepted well by the audience in the fandom as well, and it is what it is. And yeah, it was just disappointing. So to me, only if I compare the prequel and the sequel trilogies together, to me the prequel trilogies are better than the sequel trilogies. All over, both of them are not good, but in comparison, yeah, the prequels are better than the sequel trilogy. At least now, after watching the sequel trilogy, to me, the prequel trilogy looks much, much better than it was to me before. So yeah, what do you guys think about it? Let me know.